Ultimate Collectibles here with a very rare piece. Only 45 of these were made, and ironically there's already a couple good reviews out there on YouTube of it, but I just received it recently, so I wanted to go through and give my thoughts and opinion, because this one had some hate in some of the groups when it was being released, and I think it's mainly people that haven't seen it in person. So I wanted to give my opinion, my take, and that's one of the things I love about collecting is you can have one piece that people hate and then other people love. So kind of like Lino. Did I say that? Ultimate Collectibles here with a custom quarter scale Hobgoblin statue. This is one of, not the number one, but this is one of 45 edition size made. I actually didn't buy this one. I did a trade for it. So the commissioner of this group, he also commissioned some other pieces that I'm getting, some other pieces I have. The crow piece, if you haven't seen that review, go check that out. So I did a trade with a piece I had on PO, another custom piece for him on this, and I'm so excited I did because it's going to look great in my Spider-Man collection. I have most of the Spider-Man XM villains and then quite a few going. They're actually, when I get Maji cases, they're going to go on the wall right behind me. So if I continue to do reviews right here, you will always see this guy moving forward. But this is Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin is a Spider-Man villain. He's kind of the, not predecessor, what's the after? The successor to Green Goblin. And he has a lot of similar traits to Green Goblin, but he's very different on his own. Came in one large box with excellent packaging. Had the standard black foam, multiple layers, a few different pieces. So the building base minus the bomb here is one piece. His glider is another piece. Hobgoblin's bottom torso and top torso are separate pieces. His cape is a separate piece here on the back, very big heavy cape. And then he came with one left arm, or right arm, I'm sorry, holding another pumpkin bomb. And then his left arm, there are two switch outs. One is the one shown here, and I'll show the other one in a second. But he came with 4 portraits. First, you have his demonic portrait. This one is, he's not really wearing a mask. He's actually turned into Hobgoblin. Very cool. Then here is the McFarlane masked portrait, which is probably my least favorite of all of them. And then here is another masked portrait. And then finally you have an unmasked portrait. And with that you can do a switch out left arm that's actually holding the mask. One of the difficulties I'm going to have about reviewing this is with 4 different portraits, and I think 3 of them are very good. I don't know, I'll probably decide in the next minute, so it's pointless to tell you that, whether I'm going to review each portrait or just kind of show them again at the end and talk about the highlights of them. But very, very cool piece. I'm very excited to have it. I like a ton of stuff on here, so let's just dive in and talk about what I like. So first of all, the concept is pretty Hobgoblin type. He's flying on his glider, he's throwing pumpkin bombs, he's menacing, he's evil, he's right after Spider-Man, that hideous laugh. He's got his nice satchel full of more bombs and more tricks up his sleeve. His cape is flowing in the wind. There's a bomb down here at the bottom that's already exploded, or he's already thrown. There's one on his left side as well. You know, one of the things about Hobgoblin, Green Goblin, Demo Goblin, which I know there's a custom one of that coming out by this same group, you want to have them flying on their glider. But obviously you can't have a glider on a statue suspended in midair, so typically it's off a building or some other similar piece. I have the Sideshow Green Goblin classic one, which I love, and that's more of the smoke that's billowed around the bottom to make the glider appear that it's flying. But very cool concept. I think they did a great job executing, especially when you talk about the engineering of this piece. It's very difficult. So the building is slanted and broken, showing he's flying on the slide. He's slanted, he's multiple pieces, his cape is huge, the smoke billowing in the back. I was a little worried putting this together, but it went together like that. It was so simple, so easy. One thing I didn't mention with the background info, when I did get the packaging, very well packaged, not one single issue, period. So packaged very well, very impressed. And then the way it was put together was so simple for such a complex piece. So I have to give them a great grading for concept and design, and then just execution of it. I really like it. One last thing on the concept, he's kind of menacing, so you could have him facing one of your Spider-Man pieces. He's pointing at him, getting ready to throw a bomb, and just the most evil sneer on almost all the portraits, other than the unmasked one. So very, very cool. It is all sculpted with the exception of the strap to the bag, which we're going to talk about when we come into sculpt. So this is a leather mixed media right here. And then the bag is an amazing sculpt we're going to talk about. Starting just at the building with the paint and sculpt here at the bottom. This building is awesome. It's very, very cool. I love how on one side they have the stones, the concrete blocks, and the different shades and texture that they've built into them. And then on another side they have the damaged part of the building, almost like it was blown up. And then on the back, it's kind of like maybe this is the inside of the building. I'm not sure how you want to portray that. But again, great texture, great paint colors that really just pop with the piece. Then on the other side of his glider, you have almost a building ledge, which they didn't have to put in there, but I really like the complexity of this simple base. It's very, very cool, very well done. The texture, the paints, they just hit spot on. And there's probably 5 to 6 different colors of gray and black just mixed in there. And then the pumpkin bombs that are on there, these are pretty bright. So this is one where I think it's done well, but I think this statue, if you haven't caught on yet, is very, very good. It's way up there. The pumpkin bombs I don't think are way up there. I think they're good. So with the pumpkin bombs, first of all, I don't like how they match some of the color of the pumpkin with the flame. I wish that would have been differentiating, and I'm not an artist, so I don't know how to do it. But obviously this is to simulate fire. But when it's the same color as the pumpkin, it gets a little mixed up. But I do like the sculpt of it. I do like the menacing face on the pumpkin heads. I do like how it's flowing back like it was a bomb that just fell, and that's on all the pumpkin heads, not only the ones on the building, but the one on his right hand. The glider is awesome, I think. First of all, I love how it's sculpted in. I love the different metal facets, from the rivets to the hoses to the vents. And then I love the face of the glider. It looks like a person. And I really like the paint job they did on this. It's not a color I would have expected that worked really well together. It's quite a bit darker, but it looks aged, it looks worn. The different coppers and silvers and blacks and browns that are mixed in there just make it look perfect. I think this glider is awesome. I like it better than the Sideshow Green Goblin glider. And then to top it off, I love the smoke billowing out of the back. I like the texture on it, I like the sculpt of it, and then the paint is really good. It gives you that blackish, grayish, ton of different colors in there. It's not your traditional white, which is what the Sideshow Green Goblin is, and I don't mean to keep comparing it. So it almost adds to the fact that this glider is older. And if you think of a car that has this kind of smoke coming out of the back, it's very indicative. Maybe there's some problems with it, or it's been used for so long. So I like the fact that they kind of insinuate the glider is older. Moving on to Hobgoblin, I really like him. And a lot of the hate posts on him, and there's not a ton of them by any means, so I shouldn't say a lot of them, people didn't like the colors. I love it. I think it really pops. I want to talk about specifically his costume, including the cape and his boots and his gloves, and then his hood and the main torso area. First of all, tons of ripples in here, which I really like. It almost insinuates it's a tattered old costume that he kind of sewed together or got together, and it's really flowing because he's flying in the wind. And I think the directionality of it, which this is more concept and design, but the sculpt falls into this, is very good. Like it's being pushed back and he stopped instantly. And then the colors It looks like there's orange and black. Isn't that the name? The orange is the new black? It looks like orange and black only on that part of the costume, but I'm betting there's a few different shades in there, and I like how they mixed it to kind of show wear. It touches back to the smoke billowing out of his glider, almost like it's dirty because of that. So again, the statue tells a story and it completely ties together. I really like that. His satchel, as I indicated earlier, is awesome. It's one of the coolest leather looking items I've seen sculpted, completely sculpted other than the straps. The buckle, the colors, it looks really good. Words are hard to describe it. I want to talk about the blue variations on his costume where his legs and his arms are. So due to the nature of the costume, you really can't see a lot of muscles or definition in the sculpt, but it's almost a scaly type bright blue costume, kind of like a bright dark aqua blue, actually, marine blue. I may not know my blues, so that may be completely wrong, but that's what I think. And I like the scaling on it. It does take away from the definition you would have in the thighs or the arms for the muscles. You can see a little bit in there, but again, I like how this pops. This looks a little brand newer. This looks a little newer than the costume itself, so it looks very good and it ties together. On Hobgoblin, I want to look at the front of his torso where you have a belt with an awesome buckle that simulates the front of the glider. And then his belt, again, looks like mixed media. It's actually sculpted. Very, very cool. And then he has those metal buckles that hold his whole cloak together. And they're sculpted in there, and again, they look great. And I like how they kept the same consistency with the coloring and the shading on the paint of the buckle and the belt buckle, and then the buckles on his jacket. Really quick, one of the things I didn't talk about, the cape, I talked about how it was flowing back, but I love the sculpt of it. It's very, very heavy, and again, the engineering was just genius on this. And even with his boots, they almost look like elf boots, but when you think of Goblin, at least me, I think of elf together. So I think that big pointy part, even though I'm not usually a fan of that, I think it fits the design and sculpt of the statue. And I like how the braces for his feet are sculpted over them. It looks really good. There is a tiny bit of paint mixing together just on my one right boot here with the metal brace and the boot, but nothing to get really upset about. His hands are done really cool. Very, very long fingers, which you would think of when you think of a goblin, and then the nails, and I love that the color of the skin on his fingers. It really matches his face. Then moving on to his portrait, so first of all, most of the hoods have that similar flow, that similar style, but they're all a little bit different, which I really like. I think it was a good, thoughtful intention to do that. But looking at the demonic face, so I guess I am going to review them all, I really like this. First of all, it's very reptilian, very scaly, and they did a lot of sculpting in it to show the different expression. I think his eyes are kick-ass, extremely scary. I do like the tongue. Kind of a side note on this tongue, you have to glue it in. They didn't want to put it in there with a peg or a key for breakages, so you did have to glue it in. The inside of his mouth, I really like the colors that they used. It makes it pop. His teeth on this piece, I think, look okay. I don't think his teeth would have been this white, and I wish they were a little more pointed, but I think they look okay. They don't look as amazing as the rest of the statue. Then looking at the McFarlane portrait, again, he has those same eyes, but there's more definition in his nose, almost like it's a human nose. And the rest of it's very, very similar. He's got a little bit different expression. His mouth isn't open as wide. His teeth, they match the McFarlane comics, so that makes sense. But again, I'm just not a fan of this one. Then his other mask portrait, I like this one a lot. So first of all, you don't have the pupils in the eyes. It's just pure blood red eyes, and I like how one eye is open wider than the other, and his almost left side of his face, you can see more of his gums, his eyes bigger, so you can tell he's definitely making an expression. And again, they did a great job with the colors in this, just like they did the other ones, mixing in greens and grays and blacks, and then showing that definition above his eyes. I really like this portrait, so it's going to be switching between this one and the demon portrait, and they did a great job on his tongue on the inside. It pops out really well. Then Then last portrait is his unmasked portrait, which this one got a lot of hate. The hair, I'm not a fan of the hair. It looks like he's almost wearing a cap. I wish they would have done more sculpt on it, but I do like the different colors they mixed in and how it matches his eyebrows. His facial expression, this is a really well done portrait. From his ears to the different muscles and bones you can see in his face, and his eyes look glistening like they're real. The portrait, I don't like the expression on the face. I think it's a weird expression, but this portrait is awesome. It's really done well, and I know there was some hate for it, but in person, up close, this is top-notch sculpting, and the paint just really adds to it. And kind of along with that, when I display this one, I switch out the left arm for this one holding the mask, and this is very cool too. You can definitely tell it's a mask. There's so much sculpt and detail in this. I really like how this is done. The different colors along with the lines, it's a great idea. So here obviously I brought in Sideshow's Green Goblin premium format, not only to help you see the scale, that it's done very well, but to allude to some of the things I was talking about in regards to comparing it to this piece. So, and now that I have them side by side, I love the portrait on Green Goblin, don't get me wrong, but this guy blows him away. Yeah, by far. So, and I think this group may be doing another Green Goblin. Actually, I know another custom group that is that looks really good. So, hopefully that turns out well. Well, I appreciate you watching. It is an amazing piece. It's really, really cool. I'm so excited that I have it. It's going to look great with my Spidey villains. Leave me your thoughts if you liked it, if you didn't like it, and I really appreciate you watching. Take care.